Appreciate you making time to speak directly with voters. So I'll start off with your opening statement if you'd like. You can have up to 3 minutes to explain your platform.
I like a semi-full house. Thanks for coming out. I am Allen Bacher. I am the Republican Physical Conservative candidate for District 1. Now I have a website, and I invite everybody to go to Bacher4summit.com. That's B-A-C-H-E-R, the numeral 4, summit.com, and review everything. I'm not going to be able to fit all my agenda or my platform in this evening. This morning I had a realtor friend of mine come in, and she handed me this paper. And she said, I didn't realize that Andrew got your photograph. And I said, it is a good likeness, but my beard is not that long. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, and you can find out more in my website. I grew up in a middle-class rural farm neighborhood. My father and I, over a 40-year period, grew zoysia grass and sold it to our neighbors so they could have a lawn they could be proud of. I am a veteran. I grew up in industry. I grew up as the son of a child of the Depression. I started off life as a mechanical engineer. And lo and behold, I discovered managers got paid more than engineers. So therefore, I finished a degree in business and put on top of it an MBA. I participated in international business for over 35 years. I had a company of which I was senior vice president and a board member and divisional president, and had over 1,500 employees. When I was 12 years old, I asked my father what business was about. Now keep in mind, he was a child of the Depression and a man of the soil. He had an 8th grade education. Dad said to me, son, you gotta figure out what people want they can't provide for themselves. You gotta provide it to them for an amount or a price they can afford. You gotta make a profit, and you gotta create jobs for others. I have never come across a university professor that gave me a better definition of what business is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. And we'll start off with our first question, which will be, local workers continue to raise concerns about access to housing in Summit County. What do you think the county should do or be doing to address concerns related to accessing this affordable housing?
How much time do I have?
Oh, you can have up to 2 minutes.
Up to 2 minutes to solve 30 years worth of problems. My, oh my. Now, the issue didn't occur overnight, and it will not be solved overnight. However, I have discovered that some of the things that the county has been doing over the last several years have been counterproductive to having affordable housing. And affordable housing up here is a relative term. The issue more than anything else is we've got plenty of land around here. There's 14 million acres we're surrounded by. And what's Lake Hill development comes to mind? That's been 30 years in a morass of bureaucracy. I would cut through all that red tape and use constitutional supremacy to get the parties involved moving and putting a shovel in the ground and get it built. The other thing is, I have a list of all the property that the county and towns have been buying up and taking off the market. When they buy them, they take them off of the tax rolls. What are they going to do with this? What property does the county and the towns hold that can be built upon? The third is I would re-engage the federal government, who's supposed to be a good steward of our land, because it is we the people, and find out how we can reinvigorate the long-term land lease and build upon the 14 million acres that surround us. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. And now, an analysis by Summit Daily News found that property tax bills increased by 30 to 40% on average in Summit County this year. Do you think the county should make any changes to lower property taxes? Why or why not?
Absolutely. The county commissioners failed to avail themselves of the opportunity to lower the mill rate that even the Polis administration gave them the opportunity. They chose to keep the money. They got a windfall this past year. Now, Andrew quoted some figures he has. I've got other figures. My initial tax bill personally was going to be 72% higher. I appealed to the assessor, and even Josh Blanchard, as the commissioner, signed off of the reevaluation. I finally got it down to 50%. I've been surveying my neighbors and acquaintances and find out what they have incurred. Andrew, you and I have talked about this a lot. The average is also takes into account the highs and the lows. So, averages do not speak to actuals, but they are simply an average of the mean. The other thing I would look at is why aren't we building affordable housing like we did down at the Justice Center? Prefabs brought in on semis, craned in. It went up very quickly. I look at Alta Vista down here, and they're stick building it, which is inefficient. I built my own house. I'm certified as an owner builder. I'm certified as electrician, gas, plumbing. And I ran everything in my house, and I did the GC as well as the subcontracting. I can fix this because I built facilities around the world.
Thank you, Al.
Can I just interrupt, sorry. If the owner of a silver Tahoe, the license plate's OFJ 954, and you need to move it, it's blocking the bus route. So if that vehicle owner is in this location, please come move your vehicle. Thanks. And sorry.
No worries. All right, Al, our third question is, responses to our voter voices survey listed rising cost of living as a main concern heading toward the general election. What do you plan to do to help residents who are having trouble keeping up with their bills?
I cannot solve this at this level. It is because of the unfettered spending by our federal government and the largesse that was spread throughout this entire country that fueled inflation. It has to be solved nationally. But locally, I can look at lowering taxes, coming up with tax credits as a workaround to the state prohibitions. I'm looking at creating another level, a lower level of taxes for owner residents here in the county. How would you all feel about paying 20% less than what you incurred this past year?
All right, well, thank you, Al. And now we have our fourth question is about democracy. This is a question that we got out of our voter voices survey. So democracy was a top concern of voters. And so do you trust the election process in Summit County in Colorado? Why or why not?
What was the last part of that?
Do you trust the election process in Summit County in Colorado? Why or why not?
Gosh, Andrew, you served up a double-edged sword to me. Is that a Gordian knot? The issue is, more than anything else, elections support our concept of a republic. We do not have a democracy. The last functioning democracy that existed in the world was in Athens, Greece, and that did not turn out well. We are a representative form of government. The people need to choose more carefully their representatives so that they reflect their wants, needs, and desires. If elected, my constituency will be the citizens, the taxpayers, and the voters of this county, whether they're in District 1 or not. It is they who pick up the bill and they who deserve the receipt of the services and the considerations. As far as trusting, I trust the system here in Summit County. I personally know Kathy Neal and I personally know Taryn Power. They run a clean ship. They have oversight, and some of the members in this audience today, I know, are election judges. They try to make sure it is run well. I cannot speak for the efficacy and the trustworthiness of the rest of the state.
Thank you, Al. And last question I have is, what do you think the biggest issue is facing your district, and how would you help solve it?
2 minutes or 3?
2.
Okay. Well, the biggest issue is the divergence we have of people who live here who can't afford to live here. We have 70% of our bedrooms, our pillows, if you will, are unoccupied. When I went to build my house in 2006, Doug and Scott down at Planning and Zoning, where I went down and sat for the contractors, the electrical, the mechanical, and the plumbing test all one Saturday afternoon, told me I couldn't put an ADU in because in those days they didn't allow them. And I said, guys, I want to build in my lower level a unit that I can rent out locally. And they said, there's no exceptions. And so my unit did not house anybody. Now, I had a student here who was going to have to rent a room above the gold pan, above the band stage, who was going to pay $800 a month. My son, who worked with him, called me up. He says, Connor needs a place. And Connor is an entrepreneur, developed his own business. He clears the lots at both Dillon and Breckenridge campus. Connor has lived in my basement. We have shared a house together. I thought I would have to adopt him. But we didn't tell the county, and the county didn't care. Connor just found a house to move out to. But for 5 years, I provided a bedroom, in spite of what the county told me I could do. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. And now, if you'd like to share your closing statement, you'll have 2 minutes for that as well.
I believe in the concept of a handout, a hand up, not a handout. I believe there's divergent philosophies between my party of Lincoln and the other party. I do not believe it is the government's obligation to engage in social engineering. They are to provide goods and services to the citizens, the taxpayers, and the voters. All too often, people live the same experience that my grandparents and brothers and sisters of my father experienced during the Depression. During the 30s, they lost all of the farmland in southwest Missouri, except for a quarter section, packed up their trucks like the Jodes coming out of Oklahoma, and came out to Grand Junction to share crops, strawberries. hauled them to San Francisco because that's where they got the best price. I do not believe that the philosophy of the government should be to confiscate and tax those who can, do, and will, and give it indiscriminately without accountability or responsibility to those who can't, don't, and won't. Further information on my website, as I said it before, Bacher4summit.com. That's BACHER, the numeral 4, summit.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Al, and if everyone could give Al a round of applause, we appreciate you coming out.